Okay, what is up, guys? It's me, the ALE Double X Prince. The reason why that took so long, that was a long gap. Hope that didn't clear out. But recently my computer's just been acting weird as shit. For some reason, my cable, every time I charge the computer, it just it's just being off. So I had to slightly tilt it. So I'm trying so hard not to move. Um, and pretty much, I'll just tell you guys what's been going on, where I've been. I'll talk about some movies and some wrestling, and then I'll just go on with the rest of my day. But recently, ever since I've been uploading videos, ever since I got a new laptop, this computer, by the way, sucks ass. It's just a horrible computer. Um, I just wasn't able to fix it, and money wise it's just super expensive, which leads me to my next topic. Before I get to the whole movie reviews and wrestling reviews, I prefer to talk about my personal life. I hope you guys don't feel very uncomfortable, but I will be talking about some serious stuff. So if you guys don't want to hear any of this stuff, I'll leave a number to down, just if you guys are here for the reviews. But I just want to talk about this certain situation that's been going on. So recently, my grandfather has been sick. He's been sick for a while now. He's he's basically been just not good, and he has a couple months to live. To top it off, my dad, he's been a very he's just been very hard headed. At one point, we got into an argument. I mean, kids and parents fight all the time, but this one was pretty bad. And basically he's just been kind of off. And I get it, parents pass away. It's pretty hard to not lose your cool, but it is pretty upsetting right now for us. So it's something that I just kind of wish I could just skip to, but it's just been what's going on. So, and because of that, I've been babysitting this whole week, because actually we hired a babysitter, but fortunately she got fired because continuously just fucking up our plans. It's just been not good. And yeah, overall money wise it just hasn't been good because I've been skipping work. But some cool stuff have come along. I mean, I don't want to make it look like my life has been shitty ever since I've been gone. There's a lot of good stuff. For starters, at work we hired a bunch of new trainees. Unfortunately, they only stuck around for a little bit. Um, it was just very good that we got that out of the way. It was it was a good time. I made friends with them. Uh, I just became friends again. I became myself for once. I was just very happy. I've been writing a lot more. I've been writing a lot more music. And a part of that was because just a very special girl in my life right now. Um, you know, basically I liked her since the moment we met, and now we're kind of trying it out. But hopefully she's not watching this, but because she doesn't like being talked about a lot. But um, basically, it's just she's just been an amazing girl, and I just don't want to fuck this up. I mean, we did talk about if we don't want to date anymore, we're still open to talk and be friends. Because that's the best thing. Obviously, you do not ever want to feel like you can't work a relationship out, but at the same time, you don't want to lose that person. So it was kind of nice, and it was a relief to have that. So I just had a good time. So right now, that's pretty much what's been going on in my life, as well as music wise, I've been writing again. I can't believe that's happening. So yeah, there's that's been going on. Uh, School wise, so currently I'm not in summer school because I only have to take one class for summer. I only have one class that's available in the summer. In the fall, I have to go back and do everything back to from scratch. And again, money wise, it just hasn't been good. It just I just hate it. I just really hate it. How shit gets expensive. Plus, I just got a car, so insurance is just so damn expensive. Everything's just fucking expensive. I had to get a new phone, and eventually I had to get a new laptop. So, there's been that going on. But luckily, work has definitely been hooking me up. Work has just been great and stuff. I went to a high school graduation. I went to see my class graduate finally. Some of my closest friends, actually, some of my I call them my students, even though they're not. They were trainees, but I was the one training them, so I consider them students. So it was good seeing them. I had a great time. It was good, that they wanted me to go. They wanted to take pictures. They were so happy to see me and stuff. So it's been a really good thing just to see my city or see my people, see everything. And then this leads me to the biggest thing that's been going on. Um, I love San Diego. I love it to death. And eventually when I finish college, I want to explore and do other things. I mean, my goal in life is to do stuff in the film, radio business. Even though I wasn't happy with one particular class just because of arguments with the professor and stuff like that, shit like that happens. But what made me kind of think about it is like, do I really want to stay in San Diego all my life? Obviously, I got my people, I got my city, um, but the only reason why I'm looking here is because there's actually a picture of five friends of mine, four. It's five people, including me, but I keep looking at this picture and I won't show it just because these people refuse to be on camera and it's out of respect. And the reason why I'm holding a pencil is because later when I get to the reviews, I want to take notes. Anyways, I'm seeing this and I just see a family. I see a group of people that are going to be a part of my life regardless of what happens. I see friends that we've had our differences in the past. I see people who clearly have trouble expressing themselves other than being us for once. But I mean, and this always happens. Families break, families fall apart, but eventually they all come back together some way, somehow. Whether it's friends, family, anybody, you guys have to know that there has to come a time that you have to um, know whether or not you want to see more, see more in this world. And this leads me to the biggest thing I'm going to talk about. I'll be traveling to New York City in July. I'll still be in San Diego. I'm just going to travel for a little bit just simply because I want to explore. I want to see if I want to get out of San Diego. Even though I love San Diego to death, hell, I had to prove otherwise. But I just want to see what else is there available. And the reason why I'm like sounding sad is just because I'm tired and it's just how it goes. So yeah, I definitely want to see if I want to get out of San Diego. Because even when I look at this one picture that I'm strictly looking at, I don't see any of them sticking around in San Diego either. And it's not because we hate San Diego. It's just that, you want to explore. I mean, hell, I bet people in New York want to go to maybe Washington, D.C. Or, hell, they want to go out of the States. They want to go to the UK. They want to go to Canada. This always happens, and I think people should definitely follow their hearts. People need to follow their hearts. I And I think that is what's gonna happen. I'm going to get out of here just for a little bit, just so I could find myself, get a break from all this drama, and just overall, just kind of reborn myself. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Anyways, it's brief. I don't want to make it too sad, but that's basically what's been going on. which explains why I don't have that much money with me. LOL. Anyways, now let's get on to the review. So, um, based on everything, I guess I'll talk about wrestling last, just because that's what this channel is mainly for. So I'll get the movies out of the way, the movies I've been watching, just so you guys get a hint of what I've been like checking out and stuff. So after Avengers Endgame, I honestly I kept going to the theaters. I saw like what, 7, 8 movies. One of them was a Netflix movie that I just saw not that long ago. But anyways, I saw Detective Pikachu. I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan. I thought it was an okay show, but I definitely had fun with the show. I still don't know any of the characters' names, but I still have fun with it. It was arguably the best video game movie, but that's not saying much. It was an alright movie. It was definitely a lot of fun. Justice Smith is not that great of a character. I don't know. Something about his characters are just like always like uh, kind of bland. Even in Jurassic World, he was bland. But definitely the highlight was Pikachu or Ryan Reynolds. Even though he was being Deadpool-ish, he definitely still had the charm. He still had the charisma, and he's just overall a funny character. And I definitely enjoyed it. Basically, it's just a buddy cop film. Any typical buddy cop film you'll see out there. Um, John Wick 3, definitely my favorite. Other than the first one. Definitely, I thought this was gonna be the end of the series, but it turns out they're actually gonna do more of these. This one just definitely just continue the story, and that's what sequels should do. They should continue a story from where it ended, or tell a different kind of story. And that is why I think Toy Story 4, from what I hear, is gonna be a classic. So there's that. John Wick 3 was definitely the best, one of the better movies. I definitely liked the second one. I didn't love it as much. The first one was one of my all-time favorite action movies of all time, but the third one just had something about it. It was like kind of like Mad Max in the sense of, um, you know, it clearly has a story, but it's more focused on visual telling. So that's why I enjoyed it so much. And the fact that they're setting up a fourth John Wick, yes, spoiler alert. I won't spoil too much of these movies, but I'm just happy that I got to see a good action movie. And Keanu Reeves has just been on a roll after this. He's gonna be in Toy Story 4. He's in a video game from what I hear, or he's in like in a 3D-ish movie. I don't know what the hell that was. And also, he's in another movie that I'm gonna be talking about very soon. So Keanu Reeves has just been on a roll. It's just been kind of weird that Keanu Reeves is this famous now. I mean, he's always been a famous guy. I mean, Bill and Ted, Matrix, Point Break. Trying to think of some other movies that he's done. Speed. Anyways, he's just been a big name, but now he's at that point where people are even putting him in comedies, which is very rare because Keanu Reeves does not seem like a comedy guy. But when I talk about the movie that I'll get to, you'll know what I mean. Aladdin. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of these live action Disney movies, but after seeing the trailer for The Lion King, I was hyped as hell. I was like, that looks so fucking cool. Just the visual of it. So I was like, if I'll give that a chance, I should at least give Aladdin a chance. I enjoyed it for the most part. I didn't hate it, but I'm still kind of feeling like these movies are very unnecessary. If I had to pick my favorite out of the live action ones, it will probably be either Cinderella or The Jungle Book. Beauty and the Beast was alright for me. It was 50-50 for me. So there was that. Aladdin was, what you expect. It's the same story, just a little bit tweaked and more live action, or very live action. Will Smith was interesting for a genie. He was definitely charismatic. He was definitely charming, but come on. You can't compete with Robin Williams, and I'm glad that they did not freaking, re-emerge Robin Williams from the dead or something like that. And so there's that. Anyways, what was I gonna talk about next? Anyways, the acting was fine. It was a little bit cheesy. Some of the dancing numbers, like it was like moving like this. It was fucking weird. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but I mean, I would watch it. I would never go back to the theaters just to watch this. Um, they added a new character, which is supposed to be a love interest for the genie. I was fine with her. I didn't completely hate her. I thought she was gonna be annoying, but she was all right. Jasmine was probably the best actress. I didn't know this, but she was actually the girl from one of my favorite uh, TV movies, TV or should I say TV Disney Channel movies. Lemonade Mouth. I don't know if it was that girl, and she was also in Power Rangers. So this girl's on a roll. I forget her name, but she's definitely like now getting like big roles. So I'm pretty sure sooner or later she's gonna be part of the DCEU. I mean, fuck, if they could bring freaking Twilight from the dead. I keep forgetting Robert Pattinson. If they could bring him to be Batman, I'm pretty sure that this girl could be Catwoman or Batgirl or something to that extent. So you'll never know. This girl is probably gonna be a big star now. But anyways, as far as the movie goes, it was fine. It followed the same tropes. It tweaked it a little bit. Jafar was boring as hell. That's the only thing I really wish they did right, because Jafar is a very good villain. So, and plus Aladdin's my favorite live action or my favorite animated movie of all time. It's either this or Monsters Inc. So you know, kind of wished this one they kind of just like never touched, but whatever. It's what you could do. Anyways, a movie that I was very excited for, believe it or not. So I like a lot of independent movies. I'm actually more excited for the movie yesterday than I am for Toy Story 4 this upcoming week. Yesterday, the guy that plays the Beatles. I highly recommend you guys to go find that movie when it comes out. I recommend you guys to go watch that first, because you know for damn sure Toy Story 4, when you go to the theaters there, is going to be packed as hell. So I recommend you guys to go watch the movie yesterday. I'm just saying. Anyways, Rocket Man. This movie I was just as excited for as I was for Avengers Endgame. I was just as excited for this movie. And damn, this was a good movie. Now, why was I excited for this? Um, Am I one of those people that once a biopic comes, I listen to the music right away, like I did with Bohemian Rhapsody, despite the movie not being so great, or Straight Outta Compton? I definitely, I mean, I was always an NWA fan, but I never listened to them to a lot like my friends did. Um, but I did respect them and I knew who they were, and I'm a massive Ice Cube fan, so there's that. But I definitely was listening to NWA for ever, for like decades, from what it seems. But Rocket Man, this is a movie that I was excited for because I've always listened to Elton John since I was a kid. Like the first song I heard from him was Tiny Dancer. So I was just super excited for this. Believe it or not, the song Rocket Man itself, that is my favorite Elton John song. So I was super excited. Taron Egerton killed it. Even though he didn't look as much as Elton John, you can understand why they picked him, especially from the connection. Hell, he was even in the movie Sing performing Elton John's I'm Still Standing. So there's like a lot of like coincidences here, but the fact that this wasn't your ordinary biopic, it was actually a big musical number. It was just a beautiful way to tell the story. They even said in the trailers the only way to tell Elton John's story is by using his mind. So I'm pretty sure had Elton John been dead and then they made this movie, I guarantee you this movie would have been so much different, and it could have followed the same tropes that Bohemian Rhapsody did, that Straight Outta Compton did, that every recent biopic has followed, where if someone's dead, they're a piece of shit, and then they're actually not that bad. Oh, All Eyes on Me followed this trope, and it was the absolute biggest piece of shit movie I've seen that year. The Tupac story. I can't believe they did that movie wrong. And the fact that they got a guy that looked exactly like Tupac, that's just disrespectful. But Rocket Man, I mean, the fact that Elton John was a producer and he wasn't, he didn't like, he showed his flaws, he showed everything. This is probably my favorite movie of the year. It's definitely up there. It's this, Us, and Avengers Endgame, of course. Those are my top three of the year thus far. But Rocket Man is just something. Even though Avengers Endgame is probably a better movie, this one followed me in my heart personally just because of the story it told and how relatable it could be. I mean, yes, I'm straight. I prefer women over males, but it's just a so much similar story, and it kind of motivates people to be like, do I want to be the guy to be famous? That's why I'm always like so like nervous about going big, because of the story Elton John had. And I'm just like so excited. I was so glad that I saw it at this perfect timing. So this is by far one. It might not be the best movie of the year, but it's for sure my favorite, and it will definitely be in my top 10. Anyway, somehow it will manage to stick there for a good amount of time. Next up, Godzilla. Now, when I went to go see Rocket Man, not a lot of people went to see um, Rocket Man, but instead they went to go see Godzilla. And all I gotta say is, it was alright. It wasn't that bad. It was definitely better than the first Godzilla they did with the Rogue One Star Wars director. It's definitely better than Kong Skull Island, but for the most part, it was just a setup for Godzilla vs King Kong. I just hope they get that movie out of the way once and for good. But you can tell this movie is strictly for die-hard Godzilla fans, not for the regular fans. But hell, I like Godzilla. Shin Godzilla, that's probably my favorite Godzilla movie. That's the only one I'll accept, but this one was fine. It was definitely just a bunch of monsters fighting. It's pretty much Transformers if you're into the action. But the action is far better here than it is in Transformers. Not counting Bumblebee. That movie was actually good. But I enjoyed Godzilla. I don't know why they hyped it like Millie Bobby Brown was the star of this movie. I mean, she did have a big role in the movie, but not a huge role. So it was just a relief to watch a solid action blockbuster. And I knew that it was an action blockbuster, so you had your typical lame, dull characters. The government characters. Those are like always boring. And it's kind of disappointing that Kong Skull Island had a bunch of like people who are like they like to discover, and they're pretty much hit, like those people that like search for stuff. Like, and they had a good cast: Brie Larson, Tom Hiddleston, Sam Jackson, John C. Riley. Pretty odd actors to put, but they were still good. It's just that the script was so shitty and boring that it just failed. But Godzilla definitely did not fail. I definitely had a good time, even though I had trouble following the plot. Speaking of something that I did, that it was hard to follow the plot, X-Men Dark Phoenix, the final X-Men movie. New Mutants, let's be real, that movie's gonna not even happen. Hopefully the Deadpool series happen, but honestly, had X-Men Apocalypse been good, this movie probably would have had more people in the seats, but it was just so fucking boring. Oh my god, this shit was so boring. I keep forgetting the name of the actress, but that lady that looks like Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah, that lady that looks like Bryce Dallas Howard was in this movie, but she was bland. And I'm gonna spoil this. I don't give a shit, cause nobody deserves to go to this movie. But keep in mind, this is in the same timeline of X-Men Days of Future Past. In X-Men Days of Future Past, when Logan gets back from his reality, he sees all the X-Men, he sees Cyclops, he sees Jean Grey. Keep this in mind. And in this movie, Jean Grey dies. What the fuck? Like, why make this movie? You should be ashamed of yourself for greenlighting this movie. You fucking idiots. What the fuck were they thinking? And it made X-Men Apocalypse worse. It really did. Because I'm like, how do you go from Apocalypse to Dark Phoenix? Because Apocalypse should be like the end of the world kind of thing, but no, it was just a bland movie. They were just so out of touch now. This X-Men franchise just killed it. Like, it should have just stopped at Logan. Have your Deadpool movies, have it, because Deadpool could be its own franchise, but this is just dull. Hell, if anything, they should have done Deadpool 2 and then do the proper X-Force movie instead of this garbage. Oh my god, this shit was so fucking bad. It was boring. It was stupid. No one gave a shit. I hate Jennifer Lawrence, but I understand for not giving a shit about this movie. Um, Michael Fassbender, I forgot he was even in this movie. So, anyways, just a garbage ass movie. I would never ever watch this shit again. I really won't. Um, Next up, I have a good movie and a meh movie. I'll get the meh movie out of the way. Men in Black International. Um, it had its comedy. It had a good potential of being a good movie. It could have brought Tessa Thompson to uh like a A level star. She's still at the B level range. And Chris Hemsworth, I'm sorry, bro, but as long as you're still Thor, you're you're not that funny. I'm sorry. Someone's gotta say, even though you saved that piece of shit Ghostbusters, yeah, Chris Hemsworth and Sony should never be friends unless you're Thor cameoing in a Spider-Man movie or some shit like that. Anyways, um, so let's go with the good movie, the last movie I'm gonna talk about. Um, You'll Always Be My Maybe. Now, I'm not a big fan of Ali Wong or the guy, I keep forgetting his name, the guy who played King Jong Un in the interview, and he was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and he was in Aquaman briefly, but I keep forgetting this guy's name. But I I had a good time. It wasn't a great movie. It wasn't an amazing movie. It was a solid, good movie, and I rarely just watch Netflix movie. I mainly stick to the TV shows, even the shitty ones like Insatiable. That was a garbage show. And I can't believe they're doing a season 2. But anyways, this movie was pretty good. Honestly, Netflix has gotten pretty good with their movies. Recently I also did see another movie called um I forget the name of it, but the girl from Jane the Virgin, where she loses her boyfriend and her best friends kind of like hang out with her all day. That movie was actually pretty good. It was enjoyable. It was funny. It was charming. It was pretty good. But this one had a better charm to it. Um, and it was just a really good movie. It's just two people who went separate ways. They were best friends at one point. They fell in love, but eventually they split up, but then they come back together, and it's a very cool story, and it kind of shows how relationships work these kind of days without like having this like, oh look, uh, diversity. No, it was pretty simple. It was just a plain story of two people who fell in love at one point, and they had a good story, and they figured out that they were meant to be together. Spoiler alert. But yeah, this was a very good movie. It followed its generic tropes, but who the fuck cares? This was a good movie. I actually had a good time. It was pretty funny. Keanu Reeves was probably the best cameo of all time. Like, this is what made Keanu be talked about forever. So this was just an awesome movie. Well, not an awesome movie, but like an awesome year for Keanu. Like, props to Keanu Reeves for like just being himself. But anyways, this is this was just a fun movie, and probably the first one you should see out of these bunches of movies if you're not a movie person and you don't want to spend a bunch of money on tickets. It's good to just watch a simple movie on Netflix. So I recommend you guys to go watch it. Those are it for the movies. So let's move on to wrestling. Yes, we talked about movies. Now let's get on to wrestling. So I have not been following Raw or SmackDown. Hell, I haven't even been following Being the Elite show because I really just don't care about wrestling anymore. After WrestleMania, you just stop giving a shit, especially if you know that nothing good is ever gonna happen. Because even though I like AEW, I like New Japan Pro Wrestling, I like ROH to an extent, I hate that they're just like, look at this, we're better than WWE, and it's not. It just, I'm tired of this fan base of them being like, oh, I like this company, but I'm still gonna watch WWE. So it's just like I'm just gonna watch whatever the fuck I feel like. And that which reminds me, I'm gonna stop doing those top 10 matches of the month. I promised I was like, cause as I was putting a list together, I was like, I did not watch that many good matches, or I just didn't have the time to like go like, oh, I have to watch this show to watch this match, or I have to watch this show to watch that match. So I'm gonna stop doing that just because it's so fucking annoying. Just to find a match to put on the list. Anyways, Money in a Bank. I'll review it. Pretty weird way to put the show together. Um, Everything was just all over the place in the sense. If they move certain things to the pre-show, and if they move certain things to the main card, and if they put certain matches at the beginning and certain matches at the end, it could have been a pretty good show, but it was just so sloppily put together. Uh, we start off the night with Bayley winning Money in a Bank, which was good, a good moment for Bayley after Sasha Banks just flaked on her. Eventually she cashes in on Charlotte, who beats Becky Lynch. Don't worry, Becky Lynch is still your Raw Women's Champion, so no need to lose it, because at least um, Becky Lynch is still the man. But anyways, for the women, they just kind of went everything pretty fast. And if they're gonna have two Money in a Bank matches, don't cash them in right away. Take their time to process the superstar, or in this case, or whatever the hell you want to call them. At this point, I don't care. You want to, see what kind of person or what kind of character they would be if they get said championship. Like, imagine if Edge cashed in right after John Cena won. Okay, you just took John Cena's moment, but where does that leave Edge? You know. Now, unfortunately for Edge, he, cheated on, or Lita cheated on Matt Hardy with Edge, which made him a big heel, which they worked with to where he became a freaking champion afterwards, a WWE champion. Or even Seth Rollins is a perfect example. Seth Rollins was clearly the authority's future, and so he won the Money in the Bank, and then he became a character after that. And when he won the belt, it was so fulfilling. So I kind of wish that they followed that instead of just cashing in the night they get him. Or, I kind of miss those old days when, you get to see what kind of character or wrestler they become afterwards, instead of just cashing in like that just to get rid of the briefcases. So there was that. I didn't watch the cruiserweight match. I didn't watch. I forgot what most of the show was. I didn't watch Mysterio and Joe. I didn't watch Reigns and Elias. I mean, I just kind of like skimmed through the show for the most part, and that's kind of bad, because if you want to watch a good show, you shouldn't be doing that, or a good movie in general. So there was that. Eventually, I got to the two world title matches and the two ladder matches. The Money in the Bank ladder match for the women, it was alright, even though they changed people at the last second. Nikki Cross was a good addition, because Nikki Cross is actually the best part of Sanity, even though they split up. I think Alexander Wolf got released, Killian Dane's in UK, Eric Young is MIA, so Nikki Cross is probably the best they got right now. So I was happy to see that. It was a good match. But it wasn't that great. I really don't care about these ladder matches. The one I definitely did care about is the last one, but I'll get to that when I get to it. The two world title matches were good. One was okay. One was phenomenal, pun intended. Owens and Kingston, it was a generic ass match, and it was kind of sad because Kofi Kingston's title run has been pretty lame for the most part. It's just McMahon putting him in random matches. Like, they main evented a Raw at one point. Then they had AJ Styles and Sami Zayn fight for it. And then it was just like all over the place. Now he's fighting Dolph Ziggler. This they do not know what to do with Kofi Kingston as the WWE champion, and this is kind of sad because, I mean, the moment itself was great, but him winning the belt was just so disappointing. Then we get to Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. This was a match of the year contender for sure. AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. I'm glad that they had the match. They got it out quick and easy, just in case AJ Styles wants to retire pretty soon. So I was happy to see this match. It was a fun time. It was just a really good match. Definitely a high recommendation. Probably the only thing worth watching, and it should have honestly closed the show, but I understand why they kind of saved the last match for the end, especially with how it finished. But even then, it was like I would have preferred this to close the show because this was fulfilling. And hell, after this match, I probably should have just stopped watching the show because I just really didn't give a shit. The Money in the Bank ladder match. This was a great ladder match. You know, just high spots. It was this insane move that Andrade Cien Almas did to Finn Balor to a ladder. He did like a power bomb, and instead of breaking it, he just like bounced on top of it. It was crazy as hell. It was just a good match. Sami Zayn gets his ass kicked. We don't know who it is. For a second, we thought it was Bray Wyatt, but turns out it was Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar comes in out of nowhere, steals the briefcase, and he's Mr. Money in the Bank. So, whoopee, Brock Lesnar, yay. Because Vince McMahon is so out of touch. Anyways, people who are not out of touch are AEW. They had their second big event. I mean, obviously they had All In, but they weren't AEW at the time. They had this show, Double or Nothing. Amazing, amazing, amazing show. One of the best shows I've seen in years, honestly. Every match was awesome. You know, even the women's tag match, even though most of them were 6-man tag matches, and I hate those matches, at least they kind of served a purpose just to develop who these characters are, because that's what you want to do. But the main matches, the main 3 matches are the ones that matter the most. Unfortunately, Pac and Hangman Page did not happen because Pac didn't want to lose to Hangman Page, especially if he's a world champion. Listen, I love that AEW is gonna be so successful, but here's my biggest problem. If you guys continuously just put your guys over, you guys are gonna eventually turn into a bunch of sellouts or a bunch of lamos, or you just become so pity of losing. So it would be nice, a relief for Hangman Page to lose. I mean, obviously he's now gonna go for the World Heavyweight Championship after winning the Battle Royal, but I personally would have given it to somebody else. Because what was the plan gonna be if he didn't win? So I don't know what the hell they were thinking. But anyways, hopefully I think we did get Pac and Hangman Page at one point, but I didn't watch it because it wasn't on this show. So that was the only negative I'll give out of it. But overall, the rest was good. The classic, one of the best matches of the year. I don't care what anybody says. This is a 5-star classic. Cody and Dustin Rhodes, Battle of the Brothers. Obviously, yeah, I don't care that we didn't get it at WrestleMania. We got it here, and it was a great match. So this idea that it had to be at WrestleMania, you gotta understand that WrestleMania is so big and they have so many big stars. Obviously, Cody and Goldust were big stars at the time, but it was kind of hard to put them at that point. And it was just like, and in my head I was like, it's too little, too late. So the fact that we had a new company to develop Cody to his own mega star and Goldust being, who he is, it was a great match, one of the best matches of all time. There was blood, there was everything. They even break this like big seating where it looks like Triple H's where Triple H's entrance is at WrestleMania 22. Cody Rhodes comes with a sledgehammer, breaks it. That was cool. It was kind of a cheap move. I really am not a big fan of AEW when they call out the WWE. It's funny when they joke about it, like how Kenny Omega's gonna be at the Royal Rumble. Like, that was funny, but when they do it like this, it's just like, okay, dude, just ignore it, leave it alone. But anyway, I still had a great time with the match. At the end, it was just so emotional. It was just so incredible. One of the best matches. If anything, just go watch this. It was an amazing match. I loved it to death. Then we had the Lucha Bros, Phoenix and Pentagon versus the Young Bucks. A dream match. It is everything you expected it to be. It was just a really good back and forth with all four competitors: Matt, Nick Jackson, Pentagon, Phoenix. These guys were just killing it. I loved the match. It was just one of my favorite tag team matches of all time. It was actually my most anticipated match of the whole night. That not since Adam Page and Pac didn't happen. So this was definitely a big step up. It was a big relief to have a match this classic, and it shows that tag team wrestling could be unique. I mean, not saying that WWE doesn't have great tag teams. I mean, they got the Usos, they still got New Day. It's just that when you give them a story and you give them time to develop themselves, then you have some badass characters. Also, speaking of badass characters, I'm glad that Awesome Kong came back. Obviously, they could use a big star like her. She's not a mega star, but the fact that she's an actress in the show Glow, that will get a lot of people talking. So keep up the good work, guys. Next up, the main event: Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega. Okay match. It really was just okay. You could tell Chris Jericho's older now. I like how they showed all the entrance with all his characters. You know, the list of Jericho, the Y2J, the Savior. They had Rock and Roll, Chris Jericho. They had him with the jacket. They had all kinds of characters, but eventually he just showed up here with his new character, and it was good. I mean, their previous match was better just for the fact that it was Jericho that was still young enough to move around and be more free. It was no DQ, and it told a great story. Not saying that this didn't tell a great story, it's just that when you have weapons and tables and chairs and all this stuff, it was unique, and you weren't expecting what you're getting. This was kind of like the match I thought we were gonna get the first time, an okay match with a good story. So it was all right, and I'm glad that Jericho won. You know, I thought that it's a relief to not seeing one of the elite members win for once. It's kind of refreshing to see somebody else win, even though it's a veteran like Chris Jericho. But it all pays off at the end, because at the end it ends with Jon Moxley coming out, beating the shit out of Jericho and Kenny Omega. Jon Moxley, this is gonna be your year. Actually, this is gonna be like the year that people are gonna be like, 2020 will be Jon Moxley's year. And that's what I want to see. I wouldn't be shocked if they do Jon Moxley versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 14 or 15, whichever one we're at. I think it's 14. But I want to see that. That's what I want to see. Jon Moxley just being the badass that he should have been. And I'm glad that he's free more. And I'm glad that, even though he has his hard feelings with the WWE, at least, Renee and Dean, that relationship is definitely what's gonna keep this together. And if WWE can't deal with it, they could suck a big fat cock. Anyways, that's Double or Nothing. That was an amazing show, top to bottom, a great show. I didn't talk about the whole show just because I'm kind of tired right now and I just want to go to sleep. NXT Takeover 25. 25 takeovers. I'm actually planning on ranking all 25 takeovers at one point. It's just kind of hard right now just because I need to actually watch all of them back to back. I'm at Takeover Our Evolution, so I can't wait to watch that one. So there's that. Anyways, the show was pretty simple. The card looked like shit. It really did. It looked kind of boring. I was not excited for it. The fact that the War Raiders were gone and they vacate the belts, they never lost them properly, pisses me off when they do that. Tyler Breeze came back, even though it was kind of pointless. I would prefer doing Velveteen Dream versus Kushida. That would have been a much better match to have. Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano. The last one was a 2 out of 3 falls. This was just another plain match. I just wasn't excited for this card. I really wasn't. And the only match I was actually kind of excited for was the worst match of the show. So it was kind of weird. So we kick off the night with Roderick Strong versus Matt Riddle. It was good to see Roderick Strong kind of become his own singles competitor. I kind of prefer him fighting Gargano for the title this night instead. That way we could have developed a feud between Adam Cole and Roderick Strong fighting over who should be the top guy in the. They could have done like a Cody versus Kenny Omega feud, like they did in 2018, 18, 17, around that time. They could have done a similar feud like they did last year with those two. They could have done so much, but I'm okay with what we got then. I'm still curious to see what they do with NXT, but there's that. Matt Riddle, he's still, good. Obviously he's talking shit about Goldberg. Okay, the fact that he was talking shit about Goldberg is like, okay, dude, I get it. You don't like Goldberg, but just keep in mind, Goldberg is a star. I'm not saying that Matt Riddle can't be a star, but when you're at this point in WWE, if Braun Strowman cannot be Universal Champion, then I think you should just chill it with the comments, because right now WWE is in a very tight position. They have a retard of a fucking man running the show, so who the fuck knows? Anyways, I still give credit. This is a great match. Great way to kick off the show. Honestly, one of my favorite matches of the show was the tag ladder match. Street Profits, Forgotten Sons, Undisputed Era, and 1-2 Gang. Good back and forth, typical ladder spot fest move match. I'm glad that the Street Profits became tag champs. Their first takeover, and now they're tag champs. I personally would have replaced the 1-2 Gang with the War Raiders and vacate, and they lose the belts, and they could officially go to the main roster. I hate when they just vacate the belt because they're on the main roster. They did that with Paige. That one I accepted. I was like, okay, fine, they could do that, but I wasn't a big fan of it here because War Raiders, when you think about it, it's like, no, these guys need a proper opponent, not to like lose the belt. And it's not like they have a streak going on Raw and SmackDown, so that was pretty pointless. So, but I'm glad that the Street Profits won. I can't wait to see what they do next with these guys. Next up was the women's match. Io Shirai versus Shayna Baszler. I knew Shayna Baszler was gonna win. I'm pretty sure they're gonna do Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane at Takeover Canada, and then Candice LeRae will take the belt off of her there. Io Shirai, I like her, but I personally wish she came with Kairi Sane to the main roster, and then they could have done the Sky Pirates versus the Iconics or something like that. I don't like that they're putting Asuka with them just for race. And to top it off, I haven't seen Asuka or Kairi Sane on TV in fucking forever. I forgot they were even in the roster, so it's pretty sad to see that. Anyways, can't wait to get the belt off Candice LeRae. I was excited for this match simply for the fact that I want to see what kind of match Io Shirai could do on her own instead of just relying on Kairi Sane. So I was curious to see that, but we got what we got. Anyways, there's that. Oh, I forgot. Freaking Breeze came back to NXT to redeem himself, and he failed to Velveteen Dream. I wasn't sure who's the good guy or the bad guy, but I still had a good time with the match. It was a very good back and forth. It was basically Velveteen Dream is basically who Tyler Breeze was at one point, so I was glad to see those two fight, and the fact that it was classic Tyler Breeze, not Breezango or Fashion Files Tyler Breeze. We had a solid Tyler Breeze. I had a good time with this match. Yeah, that's all I'll say. Good match. Good back and forth. Definitely not the best match. I personally preferred Matt Riddle versus Velveteen Dream from last TakeOver. But let's get on to the main event. Adam Cole beats Johnny Gargano in a classic. This was better than their 2 out of 3 falls. And it shows that Adam Cole could have a great match without the Undisputed Era relying on him. Yeah, they showed, but they weren't like the main focus. The focus was Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. And I was like, why didn't they just give the belt to Adam Cole in the beginning and then continue the Johnny Gargano storyline? I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. But I hope this leads to a Roderick Strong versus Adam Cole feud. That feud personally doesn't need a belt. I personally wish that at the next takeover they do Gargano and Ciampa end the feud once and for good, and then we move on to something else. Or hell, we could have done a loser leaves town with Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, and then whoever wins there fights Johnny Gargano or Tommaso Ciampa based on your take. And they could have just gone from there. But I was okay with this takeover. It was a very good show. Match wise, it was very good. Booking wise, I preferred a different card, but they worked with what they got and they took advantage and they had a good show. Now, who didn't have a good show was WWE Super Showdown. I personally just skipped through everything. The only thing I saw was Amos and Balor. That was probably the only good match I saw. And the Battle Royal was actually pretty good. It was good to see Moonsar or Mustafa Ali win. I personally, how I would have booked this show, I would have done a big Battle Royal at the beginning. The winner of that Battle Royal picks either Kofi Kingston or Seth Rollins to fight later in the main event. I would have Mustafa Ali versus Kofi Kingston, and then Seth Rollins gets a mystery opponent. Out of nowhere, Bray Wyatt takes the belt off of him, and then we continue the story from there. And then we do Kofi Kingston and Mustafa Ali just for a feel-good moment for Mustafa Ali and probably put him up to be a big-time main event star. That's what I would have done. And then do the rest, do whatever you want with the card. But instead, they relied on their legends, Mr. Bill Goldberg and The Undertaker. They rely on those two old guys that clearly should retire already. I don't even give a fuck how they retire them. At this point, I just don't want to see them. I guess that the Saudi Arabia prince wants to just bring legends, and it's very fucking disrespectful. That he's willing. This faggot is fucking willing to kill a whole story just because of whatever. Like the fact that they brought back Shawn Michaels from retirement just to do a Saudi Arabia show was what pissed me off the most. Because Shawn Michaels had a great story. The fact that they ruined my favorite match of all time, a match I attended to, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, WrestleMania 26. They ruined it when they brought Shawn Michaels back from retirement. That was bullshit. I did not like that. It was just so disrespectful for me, and I wish they never did that. As for the rest, yeah, I just didn't care. It was just a boring ass match. It's a F in my books. I was gonna give it a D minus, but it's just an F. It didn't do anything for anyone, and it just pissed everybody off. Hell, I even forgot that they had Seth Rollins and Barry Coleman, a match I saw live last night. So, whatever you get. Then we move on to Dominion. This is the last wrestling thing I'm gonna talk about until I get to my updates of stuff I'm gonna do for this channel. But Dominion. I forgot what the card was, but I definitely did say Naito and Ibushi. I know Jon Moxley had an opening match. I skipped all the tag team matches because I am the way I am. For the most part, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they're picking up their pace. Ever since they took the belt off of Jay White, they've been better at, redeveloping themselves and being who they once were. I'm glad that they're booking Will Ospreay, even though he's a junior weight champion, I believe. They're actually going to put him in the G1, have some classic, never before seen matches with other guys. So it's a good change of pace for this. And the way they hyped it up, thankfully Chris Jericho was in this show to help the show be stronger. Even though he lost, Chris Jericho will always be Chris Jericho. So even when he loses, properly, they could work around the hell. Keep in mind, Chris Jericho lost to Fandango at WrestleMania, and I think Chris Jericho is probably the biggest he's ever been in forever. So kudos for that. And that's why Chris Jericho is definitely in my top 3. It's him, Michaels, and Taker. Those are my top 3. So, anyways, that's it. I definitely just wanted to get this over with just because I'm fucking exhausted. But updates for the channel. I think after New York, I'm definitely going to finally put some songs up in here. I've been writing a whole bunch of songs, so there's that. I'm definitely gonna feel a lot better after like everything with the family and work and stuff. I just need a break, and I need some money at this point. LOL. I'm never gonna ask for people on the internet for money. That's just a cheap thing. I mean, that's what I personally feel. Obviously, some people do it because of they see this as a job. I personally won't ever do it because this is a hobby. Um, and what's the other thing? Uh, I was hoping to review some retro movies. I was gonna review the entire Spider-Man series. It's just kind of like I'm too tired to do that now. I do plan on doing a tribute to Mr. John Hughes. I was actually gonna review my 10 favorite movies in order. Again, I'm ranking the Takeover movies. Back to John Hughes. John Hughes, one of my favorite screenwriters or writers in general. I mean, I was more of a fan of the movies he wrote than the movies he directed. Don't get me wrong, I love The Breakfast Club. I love um friggin' 16 Candles, but I was also a big fan of you know Home Alone, Pretty in Pink, and other movies that he did not direct. But I'm gonna review 10 of my favorite movies in order of how I of my 10 favorite John Hughes movies, just because this guy, without him, there wouldn't be no coming of age stories. Like he defined young adult movies. So kudos for him. And it's gonna be 10 years since he passed, but his movie will still live on for years. So I can't wait to review those movies. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Hopefully I get to it. Hopefully I get a better computer by then. But anyways, it's me, the ALE Double X Prince. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And until then,